A lot of people said that this was probably going to end up happening, and well, it looks like those who was wondering, it might actually be true. So this article is coming from Deadline, and it actually came out today on the time I'm recording this on October 22nd, 2024, that says Marvel Studios' Blade removed from the 2025 release schedule. Disney dates Predator Badlands instead. What that basically is telling me, that this new Predator movie that they're having coming out is going to take the place of whatever date they were going to have slated for Blade. And I was one of the people that was holding out hope that they was going to get this Blade project together. Now I think they were a little ambitious putting it for a 2025 release, because it was going to be coming out at the end of 2025. Keep in mind, this movie was supposed to come out at least a year or maybe almost 2 years ago. It got shuffled around like a deck of cards more times than I can remember. This movie never moved past the announcement phase. And what I mean is that this movie was announced back in 2019 at the San Diego Comic-Con, when Mahershala Ali came out and stepped outside and he wore the hat that said Blade going across the top, and everybody went crazy. That was 2019. That was at the end of phase 3 of the MCU, and before, of course, the pandemic ended up occurring. And ever since then, there has been nothing to come out of that except script rewrites, bad storylines, people coming and going off of the project, not having a solid director, and the release dates constantly being moved around. I mean, this thing probably got about 5 different release dates, and not one of them have come into fruition. And now that this new article has come out and said that it has been removed from the 2025 release schedule, that's now basically telling me that this movie may not even come out at all. Not even on like streaming, which they weren't, of course, trying to go for a streaming release. They were going for a wide release, a theatrical release, which they should. And one thing that I read is they mentioned the words indefinitely. When you hear the words indefinitely, that's like a knife cut to the chest. Because when you hear that word, that means it's pretty much dead in the water, or it's on life support, and the people who are watching you are ready to pull the plug because they're saying there's no chance of survival. That's literally what it is saying. So what I'm gonna do now is get into the article and see what are the details they mention. And what comes as no surprise, Marvel Studios' Blade won't be coming out of November 7th, 2025. Rather, Disney is opening 20th Century Studios' Predator Badlands, because apparently that movie is underway. It's like every other movie is getting pushed along except this one. I'm sitting there saying to myself, do I have to turn into a fly on the wall to wonder what in the world happened? I think that's the biggest question. What happened? I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before with any movie, not even just under Marvel, but just any movie. I don't think I've ever seen something like this play out in the way that it has. The reboot of the famed Wesley Snipes Marvel movie was first announced at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, which I just mentioned, with 2-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali starring. Production and development on Blade hit unavoidable delays with a global pandemic and dual industry strikes. Now, here's the thing. I would go with him on that. However, yes, we know the pandemic hit right before they probably could have started filming anything. Then we know the strikes came, but here's the thing. There was stuff that came out and was announced after that, that got shot and released during all of that, after that, and this movie never left the ground. So it's more to it than just the pandemic. It's more to it than just the writers and actor strikes. It's way more to it than just that. That's surface level. What's going on at the core is the bigger question that needs to be asked, and answers need to be had. The project saw 2 directors exit, first by Sam Tariq, who was eyeing a fall 2022 start, then Yan Dimanche. Mia Goth is set to play supervillain Lilith in the Vampire Slayer role. She told Deadline's Natalie Sedek at the world premiere of her A24 movie Maxine that in regards to the Blade delays, Marvel really care. They do. They want to make a great movie. That's the sense that I get from them, and that feels good. I'm gonna have to say something to what Mia Goth just said. I feel like that's a politically correct response, because it's something else going on. I'm sorry, I can't bring myself to believe that. It's something else going on. It's not only with other movies, but other stuff that's attached to Marvel has been announced after Blade, and that stuff has come out. Now, one thing I will give Mahershala is that I truly believe one of the reasons that the delays could be there is because of the script. Remember, one of the earliest things they said about the script is that they was going to try to sideline him again, much like they did with Blade Trinity, which is why that's the weakest one of the series. I always say, if people never seen it before, don't watch it. Just watch the first two and move on. Don't even bother watching Blade Trinity. I watched Blade Trinity one time, didn't see it in the theaters, and I couldn't even remember one solid thing that happened in that movie. I just know Blade got sidelined and he was upstaged by Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds, his co-stars. That's pretty much all I can remember with that. And if they ever had intended to do a fourth Blade film, I can understand why Wesley turned that down, and they just stopped right there. So it goes on to say, for Marvel boss Kevin Feige, it's important to make the best Blade movie ever. The studio won't make the movie until they've cracked up a great script. And that's really at the core of why this movie really never took off, is because the script was always messy. It was not a solid script. And in that regard, I can't even knock it for, because you can have some of the best actors in the world. You can have the best cinematographers, the best director, all of that. But if the script is bad, it brings down the whole production, and it's just bad. And you got to think, when you're stacking it up against the original Blade, even Blade 2, you have to make sure that it is done correctly, especially since you're talking about the first Blade came out in 1998. The second Blade came out in 2002. So you're talking about 20 plus odd years between, the first one coming out and the second one coming out a couple years later. That's 20 some odd years removed from even both of those movies in that regard. So you have to make sure that it's updated. It's not a remake. It's a whole different story with new characters, but it has to be one of the best ones that you can come up with and put out there and deliver to not only just the fans, but the general audience. I truly believe when they first announced Blade, I said in the back of my mind, if they pull this off, this is going to be a for sure billion-dollar film, multi-billion-dollar film. And now it's gotten to the point where people don't care anymore. People are saying, okay, you know what, just hang it up. Just hang it up and move on. It's gotten to that point, and I think that was the point that I didn't want it to get to, was where people were starting to say that. Because once you start to say that, then that's when people are like, okay, I don't care. I mean, you can make it if you want to. If you don't make it, it's no sweat off my back. But if you do happen to make it, hey, it is what it is. I truly believe if they ever do intend to make it and it actually does get off the ground, people will still go see it. But the feeling of wanting it at the time when they said they were going to start doing it and releasing it, that feeling is gone. Because look at how much has come out since then. It's gone in the pile of being forgettable. And that's what I did not want to happen. But from the looks of things, that's exactly where it's going to be. It goes on to say, in the meantime, Snipes had a cameo as Blade in the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, Marvel Studios' Deadpool and Wolverine, which raked in a total of $1.3 billion globally. The Blade movies are arguably the first R-rated superhero set of movies. Launched in 1998 by New Line Cinema, the other two titles in the trilogy were 2002 Blaze 2 and 2004 Blaze Trinity, which again I would highly suggest you don't watch, because that was the weakest one in the series. Altogether grossing $418.1 million at the worldwide box office, unadjusted for inflation. In addition, 3 untitled Marvel movies are dated for February 18, 2028 and May 5th, 2028 and November 10th, 2028. I'm guessing they're suggesting that it's going to fall into that spectrum. And the scary part about that is Mahershala Ali, I can't directly pinpoint how old he is right now, but he's near 50, maybe. This man is going to be too old to play that part, which means that if they do it, he's going to have to leave the project and hand it over to a younger actor. And I can only imagine who they're going to hand it to. I don't want to throw out any names, but I can only imagine. Dan Trachtenberg, who directed the previous Predator movie Prey, which actually was pretty good, by the way. It actually exceeded my expectations, which went to Hulu, is back for Predator Badlands, the latest installment starring Elle Fanning. There was a debate that Disney left money on the table by taking Prey straight to homes, and indeed the reversal here indicates their continuing commitment to theatrical in the post-Bob Chapek era of the studio. The first Predator opened in the summer of 1987, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, directed by John McTiernan. It grossed close to $100 million worldwide. All in the Predator franchise counts 6 titles, that's including 2 Alien vs. Predator movies, with a global take of $750.6 million. And that is the entire article right there. Like I said, I feel really bad for Mahershala Ali. I really do. Because you can tell this was a passion project for him. You know how a lot of actors, they get a lot of roles, but it's like, okay, some of them they do, and it's like they might do it for a check, and you can tell by the performance, or they're doing it because they just needed something to do. But then you can tell when people do something and it's a passion project, because you can tell by their performance that they put their all into it. Like, for instance, Ryan Reynolds. You can tell Deadpool is a passion project for him. Deadpool is practically his. The only thing he didn't do was actually create the character of Deadpool, but Deadpool is him. Like, that's his. Like, he has like free reign to do what he wants with that character, even though he doesn't own the character. That's owned by Marvel. But still, at the end of the day, you can tell that Mahershala really wanted to do this movie. When I first heard he was announced to do it, I said lock in. Some people was kind of doubting it a little bit because they hadn't seen him do a role like this, because his role seemed to be a little bit more tame, more grounded, and this would be his first time doing something like this on this big grand of a scale, and he would have knocked it out of the park, because I like Mahershala Ali as an actor. I first saw Mahershala when he was on House of Cards. That was the first time I ever seen him, and of course then he popped up on Luke Cage. Even though they prematurely took out his character, he should have lasted way longer than he did. And then he did other movies, you know, Leave the World Behind, Green Book, Moonlight, won 2 Oscars. And that's the other thing. This guy is a 2-time Academy Award winner, and he's getting this kind of treatment. Gee, I wonder why. But really, I put this on Marvel and all the heads over there, and Disney, because Disney owns it. I don't put this at all on Mahershala, because that's probably what they expect us to do, because I don't want to hear anything saying, oh, he's difficult to work with, because that's too easy, and we know what that's code speak for. So I don't want this to be put onto him. Now, the only thing we have not heard is that he has officially announced that he's dropping out of the project. If he does that, it's done. It's completely scrapped. They're gonna shelve it and maybe revisit it much later. But as far as I know, he's still attached to it. But if I was him, I would continue to move on. And I think he is, because I think he's going to be in that new Jurassic World movie that's coming out, I think, next year. And ironically, I think Scarlett Johansson is in that movie. And it's crazy because she got did dirty with her movie, with the Black Widow movie. So yeah, it's messed up all the way around, because I was really looking forward to seeing what they was going to do with this movie, especially since Blade is just an iconic, legendary, classic film, the first 2 at least. And this is the slap in the face that Mahershala gets. I said one of my things was, I wanted to see this because I knew they was going to give Wesley some kind of a cameo. I know they said that he wouldn't be having any attachment, but I don't believe it. I truly believe that he probably would have had a cameo in that movie. Why do you think when you saw Deadpool and Wolverine, when they did the cameos of Elektra, Blade, and Gambit, he had one of the biggest applause? I saw a lot of, like, when I went to the movies to see Deadpool and Wolverine and he came out, people was clapping hard. It's been a while since I heard a clapping audience like that. It's a reason. They were fiending for that character. And it was always rumors that he was going to be in it, but those are just rumors. But that was the confirmation right there. Man, oh my God. But you know what? I'm not surprised. I am not surprised by this latest revelation that they've come out with as it pertains to this movie, because this movie has a curse hovering over it. Or curse placed on it, rather. It's hovered over by a dark cloud, is what it is. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm not the one in control. So like I said, if Mahershala officially comes out and announces that he is dropping out of the project, Blade, as far as we know, doesn't even have a foreseeable future. This thing, they might as well just be done with it. And if they do decide to pick it up in the future, it won't be the near future. It'll be a very distant future. And when I say distant, I'm talking about post Doomsday and post Secret Wars, which is slated for 2027 and 2028. So you know that's going to be far away. That's going to be distance away. Look at all the stuff that's going to come out before that. And they're going to put that out. And they want to talk about doing Midnight Suns. How are you going to do Midnight Suns without Blade? Blade is a huge intricate part of that team. So that means if there's no Blade, there's no Midnight Suns. Am I right? That's how it should be. At least that's how I see it. Either way, if I was Mahershala Ali, I would probably drop out. I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I don't want to wave the white flag, but what's the point of hanging on to something that looks like it's not going to happen? He's been hanging on to this for over 5 years. And for what? I can only imagine how many roles he had to drop out of or not do because he was trying to get this project finally off the ground. And he was like, and then he did, Leave the World Behind. And now he's doing this Jurassic Park movie, which that's going to take up a bulk of his time. Because that's, Jurassic Park is far from an independent film of any measure. So, yeah. It is what it is. I think it's safe to say that the Blade had a grand opening, a very short one, but it had a very long, drawn out grand closing. I almost forgot to add this in. You want to know what's also upsetting? Is that last year at the Video Game Awards, unexpectedly in front of a crowd of thousands of people and millions watching around the world, they announced that they're coming out with a Blade video game. A game that is in development, like they quietly were in development with this, and it's supposed to be coming out, I want to say next year, but you never know. They be shuffling the dates around these video games as well. But it's literally, it's a whole teaser trailer for it on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, it's up there. Like, it's legit that they're coming out with next year, and that's gonna come out before this movie. Now, I don't think based on the teaser that this game has anything to do with the movie, but then again, I can't even gauge that because we don't even know what the movie is about. So when we saw this, it completely caught us off guard, and y'all should have saw the memes and the jokes that came up. They said, wow, we about to get a whole Blade video game before we actually get a Blade MCU movie. Like, let that sink in. Don't get it twisted though. The game does look fire, and when it does come out, I will most likely get it. But at the same time, this got announced way after the MCU Blade movie at Comic-Con in 2019, and they're already in development and working on it right now as we speak to have a release date of, I think, next year. The same around, I'm guessing it was supposed to be around the same time as the movie. But and the thing is, who knows how long they were working on this game? Maybe they were trying to do something to have the game come out around the same time as the movie, which in a long time, it's been a very long time since they've had video games come out around the time of movies. I miss when they used to do that. Like for Spider-Man, they used to release the Spider-Man game that went with the movie and all that type of stuff. Not saying that this would have had the same effect, because again, we don't know what the movie is going to be or supposed to be about. But based on this teaser that they released, I think he's supposed to be over in France. Now, based on what I've heard in the lore, Blade has some ties to France. So it looks like they're going straight comic based with this one. But it does look fire from what I saw in the teaser. And if y'all haven't seen it, y'all need to watch it because it's actually pretty good for the little bit that they did show us. But yeah, I just had to throw that part in there because I just thought it was interesting how we're about to get a whole Blade video game that has nothing to do with the movie before the movie actually comes out, and this was announced way after the movie was announced. And also, speaking of extreme irony of everything that I just talked about, is how could I forget that there's a movie coming out next year called Sinners that is being directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, and it's a period piece about vampires. Doesn't that sound awfully a lot like what they was trying to do with Blade but couldn't get off the ground because of all these quote script issues that were going on? Now mind you, this is a movie that's being done and distributed by Warner Brothers. Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan both worked with Marvel or the MCU with the first Black Panther movie, where he did too, because you know Killmonger got killed off in the first Black Panther movie. And on top of that, I looked at some of the cast. Some of the cast that's in this Sinners movie is also, or has also been in MCU projects as of recently. I think about 2 or 3 of them, including Michael B. Jordan. It could be a little bit more, but I saw like 2 familiar faces for sure who had prominent roles in various shows such as Loki and Hawkeye. I'll just leave it right there. That should be able to narrow it down to who I'm talking about. Imagine that. And the crazy part about it is, this movie got announced after it got shot, written, casted, all of that, and done, and it has a release date of March 7th of next year. And this was I think this was announced last year in 2023, and they got it done. Now what's going to end up happening is this movie's going to come out and people are going to look over at Marvel and Disney and be like, what the absolute fuck were y'all not doing with your time over there to get this Blade movie off the ground? If they could get something like this off the ground and up and running and show y'all how to do it and upstage you with a less budget, might I add, probably with a lesser budget, then what did y'all not do? What could y'all not get accomplished over there? People are going to be looking at Marvel heavy if this movie comes out and it does what it does, which I predict is going to do very well, because the trailer that they released about a couple weeks ago looks very promising. But wait, there's more. I can't believe I almost forgot to leave this part out. Aaron Pierre was supposed to be in the upcoming, well, I can't call it upcoming now because it's in a state of limbo. He was supposed to be in the Blade movie, and then he ended up having to drop out. And it was most likely because of scheduling conflicts. I want y'all to listen to this clip from the Man Cave 101 podcast, in which I express my, I guess you could say, disdain towards Marvel as it pertains to this situation right here, and what it ended up turning out to be kind of a good thing for him, because he ended up getting, I guess you could say, a better deal at the end of the day after he walked away from the Blade project.
They could do it.
You know what's so sad though?
Rated R, all of it.
You want to know what's so sad though? Is the fact that Aaron Pierre was attached to Blade and he had to drop out because of scheduling conflicts, because they kept delaying it, and now now he's John Stewart.
And now he's John Stewart.
Now DC got him. And just imagine if you would have got the stuff off the ground, Marvel. You see. Hold on, y'all. I gotta turn this on right now. Marvel. This is exactly why we have a problem right now as it is. This is why we got a problem right now.
Yo, get your biz.
So yes, as you can see, James Gunn scooped Aaron Pierre up, and that's coming off of the success of that Rebel Ridge movie on Netflix, and he's now about to be John Stewart in that upcoming Lantern show that's supposed to be coming out in sometime in the future. I don't think Marvel could get this man back if they try, because John Stewart is a very, very huge, crucial character in the DC universe, and a very popular one at that. And I'm sure whatever, like him playing John Stewart, is going to be better than whatever he was going to be doing in Blade, but we'll never know now because he's not attached to the project. So Marvel definitely dropped the ball even in that aspect. I swear, I don't know what the hell is going on over at Marvel Studios, but I don't know. They need to take a nap or something, take a siesta and wake up and try this again, because I don't know what they can possibly do now. Now that they're saying that it's suspended, like indefinitely, not suspended indefinitely, might as well be calling it though, that they shelved it indefinitely. People aren't going to care anymore. And like I said throughout this video, it's so sad and it's so unfortunate, because I, like many others, was looking forward to this when it was announced back in 2019, and now you have all of this going on. I wouldn't be surprised if some people even went as far as to boycott Marvel behind some of the stuff right here. And shout out to people like the Dre Max Show, Chillmonger, and Blues House for talking about this at length and basically expressing what a lot of us feel when it comes to how, especially how they treat their black characters. I used to always have a gripe when it came to DC, because I always said they never had a black led superhero film, and they still don't. And now I have to carry the same gripe over here with Marvel, not because they haven't had a black superhero-led film, but because of what they've been doing and how they've been treating the black characters as of late, especially after the success of Black Panther, the first one that is. But here we are. There we are yet again. I'm not shocked though. I'm not even remotely surprised by any of the stuff that they've been pulling off or pulling out of their ass lately. See, this is me separating the fan from the critic. See, I can critique something that I like and not have any bias towards it. Unfortunately, for some, that is not the easiest thing to do or pull off.